welcome. I'm John, and today we go to the Steakhouse. All right, so you're a young attorney, an investment banker, commercial broker, and you've been tasked with ordering wine at a closing dinner. So this is when we're celebrating the successful transaction that got everybody a bunch of money. The venue's almost certainly a steakhouse, and the expectation is that you're gonna choose the wines to impress without looking like you're trying too hard. So let's go through this situation and how you're gonna handle it. First thing first, your budget. So here's the elephant in the room. How much are you supposed to spend? Here is what is typical. For a mainstream deal, about $150 to $300 a bottle. For big closings, $300 to $500 per closing. And for these giant landmark deals, $500 plus per bottle, but we'll get to that in another video. Let's talk about what you're supposed to order. Under-ordering is a mistake. If you're gonna make a mistake, over-order. Don't be extravagant, but the key here is to make sure everybody has enough to enjoy the evening. So, start with the idea that wine and steak go together. And that wine is Cabernet Sauvignon. So that's gonna make this easier. For Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, it is called that, Cabernet Sauvignon. For something from France, you're gonna order something from the Bordeaux region, and then that'll probably be blended with a Merlot or some other grape. And then if it's from Italy, it'll be called a Super Tuscan. This nomenclature alone is gonna put you way ahead of everybody else. So let's talk about your safe bets. Here's your can't miss options. From Napa, Caymus, $200 to $250. Jordan, Alexander Valley, $150 to $180. And Silver Oak, which is $200 to $250. So why do these work? They're recognizable, respected names, they're perfect for steaks, and it doesn't look like you're trying too hard. They also have a reasonable markup compared to the retail, and so these are just steakhouse dinner classics, and there's a reason for that. It is just, they are made for steaks. So now if you need to step it up a little bit, here's what you need to know. From Bordeaux, the top picks, Côte d'Esternal, about $400 to $500. Montrose, $350 to $450. And the sneaky best, Ponte Canet. It's about $250 to $300. If you will go to Napa, Opus 1, Joseph Phelps, Insignia are great choices. The Super Tuscan, the go-to is Sassicaia. And these are all perfect choices to make you look like you have done this before. Here's some practical tips. First of all, you're gonna order by the bottle, not by the glass. One bottle per 2 to 3 people, and you're gonna start with a champagne for toasting. You could always use a mainstream champagne like a Vueve Cliquot or Tattinger, and they're gonna cost about $125 a bottle at a restaurant, about one bottle for every 6 people. And then always get a white wine. For people who don't like red, it'll also go great with that seafood tower. And don't fall for, I'm gonna buy the most expensive thing on the menu, or to upscale from this budget range. So, for your white wines, your standbys are gonna be Cakebread, Chardonnay, Peter Michael, Aubert. And these are all really recognized names. They go great with seafood appetizers, and the people who prefer white wine will love them. Now, every once in a while, you're gonna run into the know-it-all. That's the someone at the table who knows everything about wine and wants to show off. So you're gonna handle this as gracefully as possible by just going with it, especially if it's the client. So be a little bit careful about your budget, right? And if you are uncomfortable with a particular selection, just say, hey, I was thinking this one, let's run it by the sommelier. So it still makes you the host, right? You're acknowledging that you have some expertise too, and you're controlling the budget in that final decision. And no matter what, you can't go wrong with that. So what happens when they bring the bottle to you? What is that ceremony like? Let's go over to the bar and talk that through for a minute. Okay, let's talk about the service, the ceremony. So there's a few steps that are gonna happen when either the waiter or the sommelier comes over with the wine. First thing they're gonna do is they're gonna present you with the bottle. And the reason they're doing this is to confirm that this is the bottle in fact you ordered. They will say the name, they will say the varietal or the title of that particular bottle and the year, and you'll also look at it. You're simply just gonna nod yes if it's correct. If it's not, now's a good time to say, I don't think that's the right wine. They're going to use their waiter's corkscrew, they're going to take the capsule off, and they will remove the cork. Now, you do have the opportunity, they're gonna hand the cork to you to smell it. I don't. I'm just looking at it to see if it's cracked or moldy or anything like that. Now, if it is, it doesn't necessarily mean the world's about to end, just puts me on higher alert for when I test the wine. The wine will be poured in a very small amount. You're gonna swirl it and you're gonna smell it. And you're not trying to figure out if you like it. You're just trying to figure out if it went bad. Here are 2 smells to smell for. One is wet cardboard. The other is nail polish remover. If you smell those, you almost certainly have a problem. That is from the cork. Then you're gonna taste it and you're gonna make sure it doesn't taste like a whole bunch of vinegar. Now, if it's off, if something's wrong, the best way to handle that is simply to say to the waiter or the sommelier, hey, could you taste this or can you smell this? Because what you are trying to do to them in a polite way is to say, hey, I think something's wrong. Now, I've never had a problem with this if there is a problem with the bottle, but just so you know, every 50, 100, or 200 bottles, there will be a fault with the wine. Nobody wants to serve that. You don't want your guests to experience it. And so handling it diplomatically is the best way to go. From there, you'll just say, go ahead and serve it. You'll nod, and the waiter or the sommelier will begin to serve the guests. By the way, if they ask if you want it in a decanter, just say yes. First of all, it makes the wine taste better. It also adds to the ceremony of the event. So I don't usually ask for a decanter. It seems a little stuffy, but if they ask you, say, yep, go ahead and decant it. And that'll be the case for your red wines, usually in a steakhouse. Remember, you're gonna choose recognized names over obscure producers. You're gonna stay within your price range. You're gonna have red and white available. And then just remember how important this is for the people who are celebrating. Go with classic Cabernet, relax. You're not showing off, you're just making people comfortable celebrating their big day.